Wow. That is how you finish out a series. That is how you clamp down and show a team you mean business and you're ready to move on to the second round. That is what I've been expecting all series long. But when it mattered the most, I'm glad the Sixers were able to shut it out. Something the Houston Rockets could not do last night against the Utah Jazz. You don't want to give a team a little bit of life. You know, especially after coming off that game four, or not game four. Yeah, game four up in Brooklyn, where where we eked out. We had the 20 turnovers, and we looked sloppy. Well, that team didn't look like anything tonight like we did up in Brooklyn for that last game. That was sensational. To take such a commanding lead and get your big guys, your main five starters to get that rest. Joel Embiid was unbelievable tonight. In only 20 minutes of play, he had 23 points and 13 rebounds. I mean, the guy's just an absolute force. Ben Simmons looked really good tonight. Jimmy looks like the glue guy that he is. He didn't even have to do too much. You know, he got some steals, assists, rebounds. He defended really well. It was just an overall great win, great team win. The bench was able to come in for the fourth quarter and, maintain that lead. They got sloppy towards the end, but the game was chalked already. I'm really surprised that the Brooklyn Nets took their starters out. You know, I thought Atkinson would have left them in, and especially going up against all our backups to try to cut into the league, but it's like he waved the white flag. But it is what it is. Our guys came in and did what they had to do. I thought the intensity was great. They never took their foot off the gas. Is exactly what you don't want them to do. I want them to keep pounding and building that lead, and that is exactly what they did. They showed no life. They pounded them into the ground. They beat them like a pulp. Sensational. We were able to hit 14 threes. We were dominant in the paint, almost 70 points in the paint. We didn't need to get to the free throw line, and the ball movement, I think, was the biggest key to this game. The way we shared the ball tonight with 35 assists, it's scary. But this is what we wanted to do. You know, the more talented team just kind of shows you that game one was a fluke. We were the more superior team, obviously, talent-wise. And I got to give props to Brett Brown, too. I like the way he managed the game, for one. I know you were up a bunch of points, but I like how he managed the starters. Okay, he didn't take them all out and put them all back in. He left Jimmy and Tobias in, and then he brought back... We know JoJo, when we had that big lead, was going to stay out a little bit, but to have those two guys, to have constant starters in there all the time and just use them well, maybe he's learning a little bit, and we learned from the pick and roll. I think I can recall maybe one alley-oop to Jared Allen on the pick and roll. We shut that down tonight. Finally, right? We finally shut it down. But kudos to Brett Brown for learning from his mistakes and managing the game well, I thought. I thought the rotations were a lot better from him. The defense was insane. We even saw a little three-quarter press tonight. When we were up big in the second quarter, I was like, whoa, what the hell's going on? What team is this? But they came out with some intensity. They wanted to show who the more superior team was, and they got the beat down. We had a 39-point lead at one point. Thank God we did, because we started to lose it in there with our bench, and that worries you a little bit when you have a big lead. But when you're up that much, it's okay to put your our backup in at that point. Now we have to look to the second round. Toronto took care of business with Orlando, which everybody thought they would. So it looks like I was spot on with taking the series in 5, 4-1, thank God. But we have a much taller task ahead of us. Okay, we have struggled with the Raptors. That's an understatement. We have not had a winning record against Toronto since 2011-2012 season. Okay? And Toronto wasn't even that good. They were 34-48 at that point. And you want to go back even farther before that, where we took 3 games out of 4 games when we played them back in 2012. We got to go back all the way to the Iverson days when it was back-to-back. and we beat them 3-1 twice, and that was 04 and 05 and 05 and 06. So, but other than that, they've been owning us. This year, they beat us 3-1 again. So my biggest worry is Kawhi Leonard. Okay, we saw what he's done to Ben Simmons. He shuts them down completely. They are a great defensive team. They have a lot. They are a complete team. They've got a great bench. I do like their coach. But when you have a two-time all-defensive player of the year, you've got a finals MVP, a guy that's been in the moment. I'm pretty sure he's never missed a playoff since he's been in the league. He's just been there. He's been around the blocks. It's just like another day to him, Kawhi Leonard. So our focus is going to be shutting him down and let other players beat you on that team. You know, they have a well-rounded team. You've got Serge Ibaka on that team. You've got Pascal Siakam is a problem. That guy is an up-and-coming stud. He is phenomenal. He can beat you off the dribble. He's great in transition. He can even take a little bit of point. He can shoot a little bit. He can defend. He's long, lanky. He's a problem on top of Kawhi Leonard. But we're going to have a game plan. They've got two bigs that can bang with JoJo with picking up Gasol, so you got a big body guy that you can throw in there. So there's going to be a force. I think this is going to be a great series. I'm thinking it's still going to go 7. I think this is going to go 7 if we play like we did tonight. And I love what I'm seeing out of Ben because he's going straight down to the post and passing out of the post, which I wanted to see. Remember I was seeing when you have JoJo in there, and it happened a couple times tonight. You have your best passer in the post, even though a lot of those guys work out and get a lot of their buckets going to the rim. You know, they're doing backdoor cuts and getting open for threes and stuff, and I think he's just so perfect in that half-court set when we're going to go in a half-court set. He's got to go directly to the power forward position and work out of the work off of the block. That's what I want to see out of Ben, and I think that's where he's going to be suited best. You know, going forward, definitely, but definitely in this series, he's got to take over, and he's got to be the Ben of Game 3, where he scored them 31 points, where he went off to shut all them haters up when JoJo went out. He still has to be, you know, it's great when he's getting his passes, his pinpoint passes. He had a couple tonight, especially that touch pass to James Ennis on a fast break. That was dope. That was really nice. And then that pinpoint when he was backing down to JJ, when JJ made that backdoor and got the easy buckets. But I think for us to be able to beat that team, we're going to have to do a lot of not so much what we saw in this, because the talent is almost equal. I think Toronto's even better than we are because they have a more solid bench. But it's going to be up to our role players to step up. This is where our bench is going to have to come in. You know? I'm trying to think, other than Gasol, Siakam can block some shots, but not Gasol, Ibaka, I mean. Even though Gasol did win Defensive Player of the Year at one point, he's not quite the athlete he once was. He's bigger, he's a step slower, he's older. Okay, so if he is in the game, I want to attack him, go right at him, get him in foul trouble. He's a big body guy. They don't have Valanciunas anymore. They're not Valanciunas. What the hell is that guy's name? Begins with a V. They traded him. I think it was maybe it was Valanciunas. I don't know. Some really, really, really long name. But you got to get him in no trouble. And I'd even still attack Pascal Siakam. Now, Landry's hit or miss, okay? Landry, Jesus, God. Lowry, what the hell? I'm thinking football. Lowry's hit or miss, okay? He's really great with penetrating. This isn't a team. I much rather would have faced the team, Toronto, with DeMar DeRozan and all. But they traded him. He is now in San Antonio. We've got Kawhi Leonard here. But we've got to play... We've got to mix up our defenses, okay? I want to see full court press sometimes, earlier, not, you know, mix it up. I want to see a lot of backdoor cutting to the basket. I don't want to fall in love with the three, which sometimes we tend to do, okay? I'd still like to mix it up with transition. I don't want to stay in the half-court set all the time. I think we got to throw a couple curveballs our way. You know what I mean? Definitely. And Ben's got to go straight at Kawhi Leonard. Do not be afraid of him. And when you're going strong, do not pick up your dribble like we've seen Ben do time and time again when he plays Kawhi Leonard in the big moments. Now, they have the better record, so we're going to have to fly up there. And we have not had the best record, like I said before, in Toronto. But best thing you got to do is get Kawhi Leonard in foul trouble. And it's going to be tough because he's a great defender, but he's their best player. You get him in foul trouble, that's one thing. That's one thing to build off of. And that's just, it's taking out their closer, and you want to have other guys beat him. Now, like I said before, Siakam is an up-and-coming star, I think. That dude is phenomenal. Comes from the same place Joel Embiid's from, and that's Cameroon. I think JoJo's going to have to be sensational, but I also believe Ben is going to have to put in points rather than the assist, okay? I don't want to see the Ben of the 16 points. I want to see Ben getting 20 to 24. Go down on that block, take over, be the power forward, the point power forward that we all know and love he can become. So, it was just a fun series, you know? We had a lot of smack talking, got a little chippy. Brooklyn, it's got a great coach. I think they've got a little cap space. They finally got all their draft picks back, so maybe they can build off of that. But learning experience for them. They haven't been in the playoffs in a couple of years, but we put the beat down on them. It was nice to see. And I still think, even though Tobias is starting to get into a little bit of flow, I still think the move for this series coming up, to have him come off the bench. I know everybody probably thinks I'm crazy, but you have to have that punch coming off the bench. Mike Scott, we know he's a streaky shooter, but he's going to have to knock down the big shots when either Ben or Jimmy's going to be able to penetrate, and they can kick out either to the corner or out to the wings out there behind the three-point line. So we have to bring that same intensity defensively that we did tonight every night up there in Toronto, and the same when we come back to the Wells Fargo Center. I didn't go to the game tonight, so I couldn't tell you the intensity. I'm sure it was just as popping as it was in the first two games of that series, but it's good to get this win, and we're back in the second round. We have to learn from our mistakes that we did last year against the Celtics. Okay? Same thing happened last year. We went 4-1 against Miami, and then we had that little bit of a layoff. We waited around, and maybe it cooled down our sizzle. This is a much better team than that team that we had last year. We're younger. We're more athletic. And I want to keep that chip on our shoulder that we had in this. I mean, you saw the flagrants and the technicals and all the bullshit. I think the league has gotten a lot softer. That's why you saw those inflated, numbers of the technicals and the flagrants and all that. I don't know what a flagrant foul is anymore, just like I don't know what a foul is in the NBA anymore. Same with the PI in football and baseball. I'm not going to attack too much. The late sweep. We're going to 7 with Toronto. I hope so, JM. I hope it does come to that, and we at least take one in Toronto. If we can take two, that'd be sensational. But we've played with the big boys before. Regular season's a lot different from playoff basketball, okay? We did beat... we beat the Bucks during the regular season. We beat Golden State during the season, but that's one and done. This is a series. It's a team that you're going to constantly keep seeing and seeing and seeing, and they pummeled us a couple times. Toes ejection was so... Yeah, at the end of this game tonight? Yeah, that was corny. I mean, what the hell was that? A little bit of shoving? That was whack. Again, the league is soft. I don't know what type of direction or what they're trying to turn the league into, but that's corny. It's the playoffs, baby. It's physicality. We want to see some pushing and shoving. There was barely anything. Oh, that Jimmy ejection was trash. That was an absolute disgrace. I mean, all he was doing was defending JoJo. And Dudley. Don't even get me started on Dudley. That dude was sitting there laughing. What are you happy about? That you get to go... That you're done for the year? You don't have to work, and you just get to stuff your face full of Oreos and Ho-Hos and freaking... You're not eating Subway sandwiches. You're probably eating Brooklyn-style pizza up there, you fat, disgusting slob. God, I hate that guy. And I hate Brooklyn, too. Just a chippy, annoying team. Hate everything about him. Joe Harris, you're corny. Good thing he was completely off. He was shooting terribly. 46% during the regular season, and then, 16% during the this playoff series? Good for us, though. But I thought guarding the perimeter tonight was sensational. They barely got the pick and roll going with the lobs. We had so many backdoor lobs tonight. It was phenomenal to see. Phenomenal. And I thought it was a good show from the Sixers to go over and congratulate them for a good series instead of just walking off and going in the locker room, because I know the Nets were salty about some of the interviews that JoJo and Ben had about JoJo elbowing Jarrett in the face and laughing about it, and blah 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 blah. Everybody's so touchy anymore. Nobody can take jokes anymore, and it's kind of sad. But this is a big series, and they said it could start as early as this weekend against Toronto. Since their series is over, they took 4-1, and now our series is. So we get a couple days off. Probably not much if it's going to be Saturday. What's up, dude? What's up, Matt? So we gotta get practicing. We gotta keep this hot streak going, baby. In order to beat Toronto, though, we have to play like we did tonight. If you get a little bit of a lead, do not let them come up for air. You're going to stick them right down under the water and drown them sons of bitches. That's what you got to do. You cannot let a team like Toronto back in it. They're too skilled offensively. They have a lot better players than Brooklyn does. So sleep with one eye open. You got to put them down when you can. Y'all about to lose next round. Yeah, are we? Are we about to lose next round? Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Gotta wait for the Nuggets for Spurs. I'm pulling for the Spurs, honestly. I've always been a Spurs fan ever since I was a little kid, and I can't stand Denver. They're corny. If they move to the next round, they're gonna get swacked. Drowning is a good way to kill a raptor. Yeah, it is. We're gonna be like a T-Rex. I'm just gonna bite them bitches. We're gonna go Jurassic World style. You know what I mean? We're gonna be that big fat John in the water that eats that other big Tyrannosaurus Rex looking John. Yeah, LeVert's nice. I think he's their best player, and they should build off around him. Nets do have a bright future. I think they got to extend Kenny Atkinson. I think he's a phenomenal coach. And to be able to do what he did with that team. Yeah, I don't like D'Lo. I've always said he's overrated. I think he's corny. Dude takes 35 shots a game, and he gets 30 points, and everybody's on his bird. Like, serious? LeVert, I think, is their best chance of turning into a good player. I wouldn't say great, but he's got a lot to build off of. I like when he was up in Ann Arbor. He can ball. He's nice. Dinwiddie's a pretty good player. D'Lo had a great year. I still think he's overrated. I don't think he's that good. Joe Harris, kind of a one-trick pony. If he's not hitting threes, he's kind of useless out there. Kind of like, he's like our J.J. Redick almost. D'Lo's still only 23, got a lot of time ahead. Yeah, I don't know. I think he's, Jared Allen's not bad, too, for being what a low pick he was. He's a nice shot blocker. Very limited offensively, though. He's got to learn some post moves. I mean, he gets all his points off of lobs. And when you got a guy like him on your offense and then Joe, two one-trick ponies, I mean, you block out on Jared Allen, you're not doing a pick and roll. He's not doing anything out there. And then Joe Harris, if he's not hitting shots, he's a liability defensively because he's white. But seriously, he's not athletic. He's not fleet of foot or anything. So, I think it worked to our benefit. And that's what you want to do with J.J. Redick. Put him on a guy like that. Very small team. Yeah, and they don't have their only guy other than Jared Allen that's a legitimate 5 is, I'm trying to think if they have anybody else over 6'10". Ed Davis, but he was hurt. And I think that helped our team out greatly, too, because he's a great offensive rebounder. He brings some grit and all that. Still, we were the far superior team. It showed. Got Nets fans excited. I mean, they fought us. There were some couple exciting games in there, and they do have a bright future. So I hope Net fans aren't salty. It happens. At least you got to the playoffs, and you're going to get all your picks finally back. You're out of that shadow of giving all your picks to the Celtics. Thank Christ. I feel like Ed Davis had their series could have been Hey, you don't know. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. You don't know. Injuries do happen. I still think we would have prevailed even if Ed Davis was in there. It would have probably given them a better chance. But he does, like I said, give them some grit, and he's a great offensive rebounder. But other than that, I don't know. Sixers came out balling tonight. And getting in the flow of Tobias, and then Jimmy only had 9 points, but he did every other thing, like, really great, you know? So he's that glue guy, but when you're going up against a team like Toronto, I still think you have to move one of those guys, either Jimmy or Tobias, to the bench to have that punch, you know? Because sometimes those you see either or, one of them gets lost in the offense. Tobias is the defender that Jimmy is, and he doesn't, well, he can run the point, but you don't want to take Jimmy out of the starting lineup because of his defensive skills. And that's why I think Tobias is more suited to come off the bench because he kind of runs a point. And the way he's skilled offensively, he can do a lot of stuff, and he would work really well with the second unit. But we'll have to see what Brett Brown has in store. I don't think he'll do that. I think he'll leave him in the starting five. The bench worries me going up against Toronto. And I hope it's going to be a slugfest, but it's all about Kawhi Leonard. That should be our focal point. Brett should know a little bit about him when he was there, when he was drafted, when he's with the Spurs, a coach and a developmental star with the Spurs. That's why he loves Zaire Smith so much. Brett said that Zaire Smith reminds him a lot of a young Kawhi Leonard. I don't personally see it, but if Zaire Smith can turn into an inkling of what Kawhi Leonard is, yikes. And we can retain Tobias and Jimmy. Look out for the Sixers. All right, guys, it's Kyle Gaffner with the Bitter Birds. We gave them a schwapping. We showed them what's what. We cut, destroyed, burned the Nets. We did everything but use them as a tissue. Was dope to see. 122 to 100 doesn't really show the dominance the Sixers had in the first three quarters, but that's because the bench came in and kind of had mop-up duty. So, G-Raps some problems. That's why I wanted Terrence Ross in that trade with Fultz, but they weren't going to give him up. Because imagine if he was coming off the bench. His ability to make shots, what he can do in transition and in the open floor, he's a shot maker. But, we got Jonathan Simmons instead. We got our first-round pick back. So we can't look back. We just got to look forward. Terrence Ross is a baller. So we got to look at tape and see what Orlando was able to do to give them fits in that first two games. I didn't really watch the series, so I don't know if they really blew them out. I think the last two games, the Raptors, destroyed them. So, talent always prevails, and so does good coaching, especially when it melts together. All right, guys, Kyle Gaffner with the Bitter Birds. Sixers out of round one. Take the series 4-1. Now we got to head up to the great cold north. Winter is coming. Peace.